Beginning transmission 132. Plastic. File under Halloween 3 in 3D.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater Podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
Take a drink whenever Brian mentions theater.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothan!
Manny Bothan is pure genius.
Adam makes it political. Take a drink to cope.
Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink when Mr. Maya tells us about the creators.
Take a drink every time the shame bell makes an appearance.
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the member berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
Hey, and welcome to episode 132 of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. We are live again this week. We recorded these things out of order, we'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because, but we want to do this week because we actually got to interview the author of this week's book. We are doing Plastic. Doug Wagner was kind enough to spend some time talking to us at FanX, and since we are in town recording that, wanted to record in this episode while it was still fresh in my head, and we will have that interview for you towards the end of this episode. So, but starting out in the house that we are currently recording in, we have Mr. Todd.
Hey, I'm Todd. Yeah, we're chilling.
Hey.
And it goes flat.
Yeah.
So, story of my life right there. Hey, I'm Todd. You can find me here as a co-panelist on the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. I also do English Class Hooligans with the producer here, Brian, and my better half, Amy.
Hi, Amy!
She happens to be in the other room, so that's funny this time. So, yeah. If you see me around Salt Lake, come say hi. I had a good time at the big FanX thing this year.
Thanks.
That's what the snake said in the first Harry Potter movie. Thanks.
So, yeah,
Sure.
that's about it.
A Slytherin himself, we have Mr. Adam.
I am, yes. I snick. Hey, what's up, everyone? Adam, I do stuff with Big Shiny Robot. Also, the Bored as Hell podcast with Andy Wilson.
Hi,
Andy. And, of course, our good friend Chris over at Cinema Queens.
Hi, Chris.
At least we're not those guys.
At least we're not Cinema Queens.
Bunch of fags. And then also find me curating our Scruff, Grinder, and Tights with a Z account.
Cool, and at least he's not Cinema Queens. We have Mr. Maya.
Hey, I'm Maya. In addition to hearing me on Funny Books and Firewater, you can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Maya or Instagram at the Mr. Maya. Let's chat about things.
It's all about
things,
love.
just things.
Things, whatever.
Love, romance,
Yeah.
philosophy,
Yeah,
fine art,
Boners.
wine,
Yeah.
all those things.
anything.
Anything.
Smegma?
Even that.
Y'all's chat about smegma.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Here's a smegma question for you.
Okay.
If you were like trying to entice someone to have sexual relations with you, and you were going to send them a dick pic, would you send them a dick pic with your dick covered in smegma?
Fuck no.
No.
Because I've received many of those, and I don't understand the draw.
Look, it's actually used. You should use it too.
You should respond with "wash your dick," then message me back.
I still like the pickup line I got was, "Do you want to come over and watch porn on my flat screen mirror?"
That's actually a pretty good line.
I let it end up being a bot because I was just gonna fuck with him, but I was like, "Is it in 4K?" But that is actually a fun pickup line. So
that is a good line. I'm kind of impressed. And hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based out of Southern California, and I got nothing that I can talk about.
Right?
I got lots of projects.
You design sound.
I design sound. I make sound effects and sound systems. And as I describe my job, I have every 5-year-old's dream. I just make noise, and I make it noise louder. That's basically what I do.
Right on.
Yeah, right. Did I first introduce you to Right On this trip?
Yes,
Is this the first time you ever heard it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, you told me about it, but no, I hadn't heard about it previously.
Have I ever talked about the Right On the show?
You should.
Okay, so the Right On is this invention I made at work, and it is the most handy thing in the world. You can use it if you want in your life. So basically what the Right On is it's a way of acknowledging that you've heard someone, but not committing to doing a fucking thing about it. So what we would do is, like, a guy came up, we were checking a sound system, and they had another gig going on down the way, and he comes in, like, the technical director comes in and goes, "It's really loud." And we go, "Right on." He goes, "Trying to have an event down there." And I'm like, "Right on." And he just sort of like walks away because he's like, "Well, they heard me, and I don't know if they're going to do anything about it." So like that's the way I do it. And as soon as I invented it, I like, someday somebody's going to use this against me, and I'll be like, "Fuck you, I know what that means." And so there's a friend of mine at work.
Right on.
Yeah. Every time an email, I get like an email from this guy who's just like, "Right on." I'm like, "Fuck you, I know what that means." But I can't write that on a corporate email address. But yeah. So anyway.
That's kind of the equivalent of like, "I'm sorry you feel that way."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the Right On, go ahead and use it in your daily life. It's very handy.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you for your input. It's been given all the due
attention it deserves.
Yeah, due attention it deserves. That's Kerry Jackson's default answer to
wasn't that Jeff's favorite thing?
That was Jeff too.
Yeah.
Kerry told me he does that one too. They both used it apparently.
I do it on Facebook because I don't argue on Facebook anymore. But if someone's trying to get in my business, that's how it end with. It's like, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Cool. So as we said before, this week we were doing plastic. I'm just going to read the back of the book.
Right, it's the best way.
This is the best way to describe it. This is how I've described it to many people of this book. This is my favorite way of like pitching this book. So
have a good pee, Maya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So retired serial killer Edwyn. Oh, I never even looked at his last name before. Stoffgruppen.
Stoffgruppen,
yeah.
Okay, so retired.
Drink.
Retired serial killer Edwyn Stoffgruppen is in love with Virginia, a girl he met online. Her affection quiets his vile urges. Together they are on a tour of the back roads of America in their LTD, eating donuts and enjoying their hearty appetite for each other. Life is good until a Louisiana billionaire kidnaps Virginia, forcing Edwyn to kill again in exchange for her freedom. Oh, and did we mention that Virginia is a sex doll?
Yes.
So my elevator pitch for this, granted it's more kidnapping and not a murder, is John Wick with a blow-up doll.
Yeah.
That's what this book is.
Yeah, it's true. And let's start out because we started.
It's a little bit less classy though
than John Wick.
Oh God, have you seen that new picture of him on horseback, like shooting someone in the head who's on a motorcycle?
That movie can't come out fast enough.
No,
I'll find it for you. Hold on.
I need to see this.
Okay. Well, while he's looking that up, let's jump into drinking games.
And now for sports.
Listen up, sports fans. Prepare yourself and your liver for this week's drinking game. Remember, it's only a game, and a dumb one at that. So don't take it too seriously. And above all else, please drink responsibly.
Okay, Mr. Maya, what is your drinking game rule?
I'm going to call mine Little Green Men, even though the little green figure in this,
it's naked women.
Yeah. Anytime you see a little green, it almost looks like a plastic army figure, but it's a naked woman. Anytime you see a little green figure, take a drink.
Awesome. Mr. Adam, can you give us a drinking game rule?
Yeah, mine's called Meet Virginia. Every time they say the name Virginia, take a drink.
Fuck you.
Yep. And mine is paper or plastered is what I'm calling it. Every time the word plastic is said, take a drink.
You're evil.
I know, I'm very evil. Mr. Todd,
I have no room to talk because I've had games just as word.
Sure.
Just as bad.
I know, yeah.
So I'm calling mine the Joe Pesci. Did you ever see the movie 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag?
Yes.
So this one's 8 heads in a Ziploc bag.
Actually, I'm going to change it to 8 heads in Ziploc bag. I think that's awesome.
Okay.
Oh, no, is it every time there's a head in a Ziploc bag?
Yeah, every time there's a head in a Ziploc bag.
Spoiler alert, sort of.
You're going to go ahead and take a drink.
Okay. Awesome. So let's jump into our votes as to whether or not we believe it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time and money and effort to go hunt this book down and give it a read. We will start with Mr. Maya.
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Absolutely.
Mr. Adam?
Yes.
And I'm also absolutely, I fucking love this book. And I'll be honest, when we were interviewing the author, I geeked out on him a little bit, and I was like, look, before we were even doing the book, or before I even met him, I fucking was in love with this book. I really dug the shit out of this book. So,
yeah.
I think it's super fun. If you have a twisted, dark sense of humor, which, let's be honest, you're listening to the show, so you probably do.
Yeah.
I think you'll really enjoy the hell out of this book. This is, I will say, some of those books we do, we like them and say it's worth your hard-earned time and money. Even if you don't read comics a lot, but you just kind of listen to the show just for fun, I would actually recommend going and hunting down this book. It's a lot of fun.
And it's just a 5-issue series, no more.
Mm-hmm.
No more, no less.
It's got an end.
So with your humor, if you ever have a friend or anyone look at you and going, something is wrong with you, if you crack a joke that's a little bit off, then this is the book for you.
That's true.
And then I did this one digital, and I don't know why it happens this way, because Amazon owns Comixology. But if you're ever going to buy a digital book, check the price on both sites, because for some reason this was like $9 on Comixology, but on Amazon was $5. And when you go to Amazon, you got to make sure it says the Comixology version, otherwise you get the shitty Kindle version. So I don't know why it does that, but if you want to get a digital, $5 for this trade is a really good deal.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a terribly expensive book.
It's like $17 normally if you get it in paperback.
But yeah, it's well worth it. I think it's super fun. Also, it's a fun book to have on your shelf to really just mess with people.
Kind of like the Pro.
Yeah, but better than the Pro.
No, this is. I love the Pro, but this is a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anybody else have any forewarnings before we go into this?
It's not for kids.
It is not for kids.
It's not for kids. It's not for those with delicate sensibilities. But also, if you listen to the show, I don't think you have those delicate sensibilities.
It's because we're not cinema queens.
We are not. At least we're not cinema queens.
We need those bumper stickers. We need shirts of that, and Manny Bothans died for our sins.
I will neither confirm nor deny that I have a lead on making shirts for Manny Bothans died for our sins.
At least we're not cinema queens, but have the funny books and Firewater, like in the typeface, be in the shape of a rainbow.
There you go. And have it all rainbow colored.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I have a question about that. I'll ask for that. A question about that we'll ask in the break. Okay, so cool. So what?
I was going to say, if you would like to see Funny Books and Firewater merchandise saying, at least we're not cinema queens, please email us.
Yeah, it's true. Email me at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com. And if you're interested, if I make it happen, and if you're if you're the first 5 people to email me saying, yes, it's a brilliant idea, I'll send you like a t-shirt for free when we make them, just for fun.
Oh, all right.
So I'll hook you up. Just let me know. If it seems like something you'd actually want, let me know and I will hook you up, I promise. Yeah. Or you can go to our contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com. There's a little contact link.
No, what we need to do is when we get that made, put that bumper sticker on your car and see how long it takes hanging out with Chris for him to notice. What the fuck's this?
He's never in my car, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but he might see it in the parking lot or something like that.
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Just walk by it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need to go this way. Why? Just cause and don't
I should put it on his car.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to take a little...
He is high all the time, so he wouldn't notice.
That's true. So we're going to take a little bit of a break and give you a chance to read this. And then when we come back, we're going to spoil the living crap out of it. So just so you're forewarned, this is what's going to happen. And also, after the break, we're going to have an interview with writer DOUG WAGNER, who was super cool.
Dude was awesome.
Dude was super awesome. Todd was sitting there with me. I kept expecting Todd to jump in with a question. He just sat there. I think he was eating something at the time.
I was having a good time. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I'm like,
you were just longingly looking into DOUG WAGNER's eyes.
He's an attractive man, I will admit that.
He looks good.
He's a good-looking dude. Yeah.
He looks like a prime Phil Hartman.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he has kind of a Phil Hartman in his younger prime days. I can kind of see that vibe a little bit.
It's a good thing going on. You're good looking.
If you're listening to this, Doug, you're an attractive man. Coming from a straight man, I'm just
That's right.
Adam wasn't there to really give us a full judgment on it, but yeah.
I can't be everywhere.
Why not?
You're working on it.
I don't think he got that. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we will see you on the flip side.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt.
And I'm Trevor. We're the co-hosts of the Nighthawks podcast, a movie podcast for people who like to stay up late.
We've just joined the Hello Sweetie Podcast Network, expanding our podcast empire and bringing the world to its knees.
Take a seat in the Nighthawks diner with us. We're going to talk to you about movies.
We've got new movies, old movies, movies we love, movies nobody loves.
You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and at nighthawkspodcast.com.
Hey, that was pretty good. Do you think they'll listen?
The good ones always do.
I don't know if we'll leave that in or not. Maybe we'll jump back in on a happy
Oh, no,
note.
I didn't think we were recording it.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we hadn't come back yet.
Yeah, no,
I thought
fine.
we were just bullshitting.
Well, sometimes I leave the bullshit in. Sometimes that stays in, sometimes it doesn't. You should be forewarned about that.
I just assume anything I say is going on the air.
I should be forewarned about that a year later.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is like your 1 year.
That is actually.
Getting there next month.
No, this is the month.
You did
We're doing
October.
So this is your month. Maya's been with us for a whole year.
It's my 1 year
The
anniversary.
training pants are coming off.
And
But now we're putting your
training
training bra on.
Hey.
Whoa.
The real
I'm
trick
a
is-
big kid now.
Dun, dun.
We're adults.
Mommy, what? Yeah, sort of. We adult on occasion. That's not when we're on the show.
Adulting.
I think I might actually be more immature in my 30s than I was in my 20s. In certain ways.
Sure.
I mean, this podcast has proven that.
I'm quite immature when I can be.
This podcast has proven a lot of things about us.
Yes.
Okay.
Tenacity. It's proven tenacity.
That's true. That's true. Did we tell it on the last show or on this show? Oh, no, we weren't. We were talking about the podcast thing, about the speech that the guy was given, about you having done more episodes. We had this conversation like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, that was on English Class Hooligans.
It was. Did we actually do it on the episode, or did we actually talk about it off the air? I thought we talked about it off the air.
That was just off the air.
Yeah, so it was my favorite thing. So there was a speaker who came to Todd's community.
Little Bill.
Little Bill from Radio from Hell.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about doing podcasts and asked if anybody had a podcast, and Todd raised his hand, and he asked how many episodes we'd done. At that point in time, we'd done something like around 100.
I said, we've done about 130 now.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it was like oh shit, you actually do a podcast. And I was like, oh, you're a real, okay, you're a real boy. You've done a real podcast.
Yeah. Real boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we're not one of these little like rinky-dink, like, oh, we just put out episode 2 after 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I opened it up with English Class Hooligans because with the audience and whatnot, it was a more diverse audience than who listens to this show.
We have a diverse audience, but our audience also has
potty mouths.
Has potty mouths, yeah.
Right. So it was a more conservative audience. How about that?
There we go. That's probably a better way.
So I opened. I was like, oh, we're doing one called English Class Hooligans, which is a voluntary book reports on classic literature, and then we discuss what's good about them or not, and whether or not they should still be classics and be read. And it's like, and like, how many episodes have you done? And I'm like 6. All right. And it's like, you said you have another? Like, yeah, there's another one. It's like, what's that? It's like, well, it's Funny Books and Firewater. Comes out weekly, and we're at about 130 now. And he's like, oh, all right.
You really exist then.
I really do exist. And he's like, and it's like a lot of podcasts, if they find a good audience and they get 500 downloads per show, they're quite happy with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think we can say that we're the biggest, we can say we're the most popular comic book podcast in Utah.
I don't know if that's even true. Maybe we are.
I have no idea.
I don't know if there's other podcasts, comic book podcasts in Utah. I won't claim we're anything of anything.
No.
We're definitely the dirtiest comic book podcast in Utah.
That's probably fair. I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. Okay.
We'll make shirts.
We'll make shirts. We're the dirtiest.
At least we're not Cinema Queens. Dirtiest podcast in comic book podcast in Utah, but at least we're not Cinema Queens.
That's right.
Buy your bumper stickers now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so jumping into plastic. This is
Brian, tell us about this book.
Okay. So, so this book starts out with a nice little hidden gem of our hero Edwyn, who is it Edwyn?
That's Edwyn.
Yeah, Edwyn.
I always think Edwyn Drood whenever I see the name Edwyn.
Yeah.
It's Edwyn Drood comes to my brain.
But they thought his name was like, what, Spencer or something?
Yeah,
they didn't know what his name was.
Well, because he was using credit cards and a stolen ID from someone he had killed, and so was using different. So I mean, I would argue that his name. Oh no, they do say his name is Edwyn later in the book. So he is having a good old time with his girlfriend, who you don't see. Basically, you know what? Rather than going through step by step, I'm just going to basically kind of give you the general summary. Basically, Edwyn, he has what I like about this book is he has a little bit of every movie serial killer you've kind of heard. He has a little bit of Norman Bates. He has a little bit of Dexter. He has a little bit of all sorts of things. So he's a killer. His mom is a voice in his head who watches out for him while he's sleeping or during the day. His girlfriend is Virginia, who is a sex doll, who we learned in our interview the origin of the name Virginia. So listen to our interview at the end of this episode, and that will tell you where the name Virginia comes from. And actually the last line of the book, which is Buck Up Virginia, we have the top secret answer as to where that all came from. And then, so basically, he ends up getting into a fight with some guys, and they steal his blow-up girlfriend, and so he ends up going on a killing spree to get her back. And so it is sort of like John Wick with a blow-up doll. That's really was.
That gets it.
Yeah, he ends up picking up a hitchhiker who ends up coming with him on his sort of a tour of vengeance.
And to help the setting, so where is this taking place?
Taking place in the South, Louisiana.
So backwoods of Louisiana.
Backwoods of Louisiana, with a guy who could be on the TV show Taboo, yeah, I mean, but like, here's the thing: is if you heard our intro and said, "Hey, a guy who's in love with a sex doll who's a serial killer," and you're like, "Yes, I need to read that," you're gonna love this book. It's everything you want and more out of this book. Yes. It's gonna be pretty awesome. Todd, what are your thoughts?
So I originally read this book about almost 2 years ago, I think now.
So probably close to when it came out then.
So probably, this came up. I had read some good things, so I picked that up and I went this. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I even think it might have been a recommendation early on.
Oh, okay. Oh, for us?
Yeah. But
I could go look on the list.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. So I read this a while ago, and then I was reading this again, and it's...
Oh, its first printing was just last year.
Maybe it was last year when I read this thing.
Okay.
Well, it could have come out in single... Oh, never mind. Todd doesn't read single issues.
Well, no, but it says the trade, its first issue.
Well, I know if the trade came out last year, the issues could have come out the year before.
So I've had it
about
about a year.
I myself because Todd doesn't read issues.
I'm a trade waiter for bad and good, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
So it's so you open it up, and the amount of time it takes for you to figure out what Virginia is a sex doll is much longer than you initially think.
Unless you've read the back of the book, yeah.
Unless you've read the back of the book. And I have very mixed feelings about knowing that going in.
Yeah.
Because the fact that it is all messed up, because his girl gets kidnapped. This ruthless Louisiana baron of a sort is going, "You're going to do this for me so I can get what I want." And he just goes all hells to the no. And he's like, "Fine, I'll start out this way." And then he proceeds to have a Mel Gibson moment of payback as he's going through this whole book. And it is so vulgar and funny and gross. And just like, that's done. I mean, you done messed up, Ron. Goes through my head a lot. And I'm like, where has this been all my life? It is awesome. And, that's a lot of platitudes being thrown at it.
Yeah, there's some bloviation going on there for sure.
Yeah, and the one nice thing, because I got it digital, was that I didn't read the back of the book. So,
yeah, so you got
I almost kind of wanted to say, when we're doing our intros at the beginning, like, I mean, at the beginning when he's in the car with her and she's not saying anything, I just figured maybe it was like a corpse or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Then you see this woman, you're like, oh, it's a woman, and then like a couple pages later, like, oh, it's a fucking blow-up doll.
Yeah,
that's right. And even this "Return
literally
Virginia, please" moment,
it
is a fucking blow-up doll, but it has like that Deadpool moment of like, "Francis, can you see me, Francis?" It's like, "Return Virginia, please."
Yeah,
and it's such this nice phrasing of "please."
Yeah,
but it's done with blood and gore.
Yeah. Well, I love that in his mind, Virginia does not like swearing, does not like the killing, and so that's why he's not doing it, because he doesn't want to disappoint Virginia. So it's like Virginia, although he's his sex doll, he's also sort of a little bit of her conscience as well.
Yeah, it's going through. It's like a little bit of Unforgiven going on.
His mom, yeah, to a certain extent. Like I think he has more of a fear of his mom. At least is the vibe I got off of it.
Well, since this comes up later in the book, I just had a thought that now that I didn't have then. Because he had the bag with the skull in it labeled "Mom."
Yeah.
Was that his first kill?
Probably.
It probably was.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of that.
But yeah, he was trying to get her to shut up because she just kept nagging him. So it's fine. Pulled the cord on it, or I guess shot her.
That's also the case with Norman Bates, and there's definitely not a lot of Norman Bates in that sort of thing.
So it's going on. So he shut out school, but she never shut up.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of has to deal with it being there, and that's kind of awesome and messed up and serial killer-like, and it's a lot of good fun.
Also, too, I didn't know, again, going in, because I went in 100% blind.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a serial killer. I thought maybe he was like CIA or...
for sure.
Well, at first, don't they say like, oh, you're ex-military, blah blah blah, because he found some sort of file on him, but it wasn't really his file.
Yeah, it was whoever he had killed was using their ID.
Right.
Well, Mr. Maya, what are your thoughts?
Well, I really liked it. It took a little bit for me to kind of get into it, because the first 2 issues, especially after reading Witch Doctor, which I read them back to back, I wasn't really digging it. And then I don't know what it was, but something around issue 3 clicked for me, and I really started liking it. I like that even though he's a serial killer, and even though, Virginia changed him and set him on the straight path, when it came to when the Baron or whatever had him go kill the sheriff, you find out later he must have told him to go hide or something, because there's that newspaper article. I'm like, oh, so he's not really a bad guy. Like Dexter, he's not a bad guy. He just does bad things.
Yeah, he's an anti-hero.
Yeah, and a very interesting and good anti-hero. But he's one of those anti-heroes where if he got caught and then was executed, by the state, you'd be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. But I like
him.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of in a Dexter kind of way. Like, you like the character, but you're a little afraid of the fact that you like the character.
Well, yeah, and every time he's interacting with someone who's not, who hasn't wronged him or Virginia, he's super nice to him. Like, it was the girl
at the donut shop.
Yeah, and then when he said Gwen from that asshole cop, I mean, he's a good person who just does fucked up things.
Yeah, no, for sure. Get a little bit more of your thoughts on that.
I loved it, and like I said, it was great going in 100% blind. All I had to go off of was just the cover, and so the cover, if you looked at it too much, you could kind of see maybe it's like a blow-up doll, but it's just this guy calling out of her mouth, and there's blood coming out of her mouth, so it's really doesn't really give you much. But I love serial killer type stories, and it's really fun. Like we said, when you go the Dexter route, where this guy is, he's just killing bad guys, he's not killing good guys. Kind of like his own moral code. And again, not knowing where the story was going to go. Cause I thought he was ex-CIA, because that part where he's in the boathouse when he's tied up, he's looking over and he's like, okay, this guy's Thomas. He did this. Okay, there's a thing over here. There's he was marking
the
spots.
bait shop sign.
The bait shop sign, yeah. So for me, I was trying to figure out what he was, and so then when you finally find out that this is there was a serial killer, that's his MO. I'm like, oh, he's a serial killer. That makes that, and everything kind of clicked and fell into place. But it was fun not knowing that going in and trying to figure things out on your own. So. If you're this far and you've probably, you either read it or you don't care if it gets spoiled, but it was really, really interesting going in 100% blind. But no, it's well written. The art's great. The art kind of reminded me a little bit of the guy who drew Lock and Key. It's not. I looked it up. But it was very kind of reminiscent of that same style.
Yeah.
And just like with Witch Doctor, this one is over the top and bloody and gross. I would say it's bloodier than Witch Doctor, because Witch Doctor was mainly just monster fluids. Yeah.
I almost made Todd spit up his drink.
But no, I mean, I liked it a lot. Like I'm glad that it's a one shot, because it all wraps up perfectly and has
he goes out in a blaze of glory.
He goes out in a blaze of glory, and you find out the very last scene, you find out he didn't kill that family. But it's almost like I kind of want to know where this guy came from. Like maybe
do
get his backstory, a prequel. Yeah.
I actually, in our interview, mentioned that about wanting a prequel. I also mentioned if there was a possibility for a sequel, because I want to know what happens to the hitchhiker who he picks up, who's with him.
To Gwen.
Yeah.
Although she changed her name
to Virginia.
Yeah, that's right. She does change her name to Virginia. So what happens to Virginia after that? I think it would also be very interesting.
I found it interesting that she seemed to be completely unfazed by his craziness.
Yeah, which
just went right along with it.
Yeah.
Well, he saved her life. And so maybe
he did save her life, and
maybe it was like a.
But the thing too is, as Adam said, he's always really nice to people who haven't done him wrong. And if she's been out there hitchhiking, and even the cops have been dicks to her, all of a sudden, he's the only good person she's met. Okay, so he's a serial killer. Everyone has their faults.
Well, even when he's talking to the dead deputy in the car, and she's like, "Oh, and what did he say?" and what did your mother say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, it was interesting. Is he even brings that up. He's like, "You're pretty fine with everything going on," and she's like, "Well, maybe I'm still processing it, or what almost happened to me, because she almost got raped by that deputy." So, it could have been for part of that she was in shock, but then, like we said, he was nice to her. He helped her out. He's the only person who's been nice to her, and she realizes that he wants to get his lover back, and she doesn't even know it's a blow-up doll till the very end. And even then, she's like, "Meh, different strokes for different folks."
Yeah. So
don't kink shame him.
Yeah, no,
I didn't.
Sure.
I just said that.
Cool.
No, I was just in general.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm a cum dumpster. There's no kink shaming here, so
that's true. Drink, by the way.
Drink, you fucker.
I'm going to throw in my cocktail now.
All right.
Behold, we finally fulfill the second half of our title and make with the fire water.
Alcoholics transform!
We need to get these bitches drunk.
That sure smells boo.
So,
cocktail.
Cocktail the cock.
So this is okay. So I did a little bit of a stretch for mine this week. I'm calling mine Still Fresh. It's actually also called a New York Sour. But the reason why I did this is because it's he puts all of the heads of people he kills in plastic bags. So basically like leftovers, and he can keep them all fresh, which is why I'm calling it the Still Fresh. So this actually uses leftover wine is where this cocktail came from. So you're going to use 2 ounces of bourbon, 2 ounces of lemon juice, a half ounce of simple syrup, and 1.5 ounces of dry red wine. In a cocktail shaker filled with ice, you're going to add the bourbon, the lemon juice, and the syrup. You're going to shake well and strain into a glass over ice, and then pour in the red wine back over the back of the spoon to float it on top. And that is your Still Fresh cocktail. Mr. Todd, what is your cocktail?
Mine is called Is That Milk? But it's a play. It's like a brandy milk punch, which is a classic Louisiana, New Orleans alcoholic boozy thing. So what it is it's 2 ounces of brandy, 1.5 ounces of heavy cream or almond milk if you lean that way, 1 ounce of simple syrup, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So what you can do is you can combine all those ingredients in a shaker filled with ice and shake the ever-loving shit out of it, get it nice and frothy. Pour that into a Cosmo glass and then grate a little bit of nutmeg right on top of that.
Frothy fluids.
Frothy fluids. I'm going, is that milk? Tell me it's milk.
Please tell me that's milk.
I'm fine if it's not.
Well, because I think Maya's broken. I'll give him a minute. Mr. Adam, what's your cocktail?
So mine's called the Pluot. It's based off when he meets the lady working at the donut place, and she had Pluot donuts, which is a mixture of plum and apricots. So this is a little bit more involved. So you take 9 cups of water, you take 2 pounds of Pluots, pitted and sliced up, and 12 tablespoons of sugar. You bring your water to a boil, you add the fruit and sugar, boil for 15 minutes, take it off the stove, let it just cool naturally for about 2 hours, and then in a glass full of ice, you add about 2 ounces of vodka, top with as much Pluot juice as you want, and go from there.
Awesome. And Mr. Maya?
Mine is also based off a donut, from that scene. Mine also has a bit of some steps to it. So mine's called the glazed donut. First, you're going to make the glaze, which I hope it's milk.
What if it's not?
The ingredients are 1 cup of confectioner's sugar, 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Man, I can't talk today. You mix all those ingredients in a shallow, wide bowl. If it's too thin, you can add more sugar. If it's too thick, add more milk. Is it milk? Once the desired consistency is reached, dip the rim of your glass into the glaze to coat. Flip rim side up and set down, allowing the glaze to drip a bit. Wait about a minute, and then dip it into sprinkles, like rainbow sprinkles, whatever kind of sprinkles you want to use.
I think the picture you showed me was chocolate sprinkles.
Yeah.
Rainbow sprinkles are gay farts.
Then to make the cocktail, you're going to pour into a shaker filled with ice, 1.5 to 2 ounces of cake-flavored vodka, 1 ounce of creme de cacao, half an ounce of simple syrup, a few drops of vanilla extract to taste, 3 ounces of half and half. Is it milk?
I'm getting diabetes listening to this.
Shake the shit out of it, strain it into the glass, and then you're going to take a donut hole and poke a hole in it with a straw, pull the donut hole down.
You're poking a hole in the hole?
In the donut hole.
A hole in the hole.
That's meta.
Remove the bit of stuck donut from inside the straw using the prong of a fork and serve.
Don't just suck it out and say, good enough.
Yep.
Or use a second straw.
So you're going to garnish it with a donut hole.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
And get diabetes.
And get diabetes. I mean, it sounds like a good way to get diabetes.
And wonder, is it milk?
Is it milk?
Nah, it's milky.
Cool. Does anybody else have any other thoughts before we move on to our final grades and all that stuff?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, like we've had 2 weeks in a row, or 2 books so far this month that have just been a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We're recording these out of order, by the way, just so that we can talk about this since we just did the interview. So, since Adam sounds confused, because every time I record these out of order, I feel bad because Adam is always like, "Wait, what the fuck are we doing?"
We have what, 3 books in between?
2 books in between. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is fun with this art here and the telltale signs is the artist makes no bones about it being a plastic doll. Doesn't really try to hide it per se, but you're looking at that and at first you're like, yeah, I can go with it. And then you're like, oh fuck, that is a blow-up doll. And then you're like, oh fuck, what else am I reading? It's like, dude, this guy's really messed up. I kind of love this shit.
Yeah.
Way to go, Mr. Wagner.
And I will say, you know, like a lot of things, the people who write the most fucked up shit are some of the nicest people you've ever met in your entire life.
I mean, he looks like he could be my accountant. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and
super nice dude.
Super nice, very charming, very, yeah, it was a great time.
He was a good dude. So speaking of which, we will use that as a lovely segue. So what we're going to do is we're going to play our interview with Mr. Wagner, and then when we come back, we are going to do our final grades, and then we'll go into recommendations. So here is from FanX, Mr. Doug Wagner. Super nice, super cool dude.
Super dude.
Super dude.
Super dude.
Super.
And thanks again, Doug, for taking the time to talk to us. We really enjoyed
appreciate
it.
that.
Thanks, Doug.
Your hero in this has a little bit of, like a lot of different characters, has a little bit of Buffalo Bill, has a little bit of Norman Bates with the mom sort of thing. What was kind of your inspiration to get started on this?
Oh, that's it. Honestly, the inspiration all came from a road sign in Virginia.
Okay.
So that's why the doll's name is Virginia.
Okay.
So as I was going over the state line, they have a sign that says Buckle Up Virginia.
Okay.
And honestly, the whole idea got stuffed in my head.
Yeah.
And so now you know why the last line of the book is Buckle Up Virginia.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, would you possibly do a sequel? I mean, because everyone's kind of dead at the end. Is there a way to do it? Or would you do a prequel or whatever?
If we did anything, I'd probably want to do a prequel.
Yeah.
Because I kind of have some ideas of what Edwyn was like when he was 10.
Gotcha.
And I think that could be a lot of fun, like actually seeing his mom.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
See how that all goes?
Yeah.
I mean, would you play on the Norman Bates kind of thing more if you did it that way?
Well, his mom would be alive, so it wouldn't be like,
that would be like
talking to the dead thing. But I wouldn't necessarily do like that total dependency thing. It'd be a different kind of thing. Yeah. In my head, his mom is a single mom, and he's raised like out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So like there's this weird relationship that they have, but it's a real loving, kind, not the typical like abusive mother. Yeah. It's just very loving mother. Yeah. So
almost overbearing.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
The kind that you'd keep the head around for a while.
Yeah, for sure. What do you the hitchhiker who picks up? What do you think happens to her after all of this?
I'm not. I like to let people take that on their own path and see what they think happens.
Because in my mind, that's the second. That's the sequel of her doing her own thing at that point in time, and she's witnessed a lot of stuff. Out of curiosity, because the whole Image situation is a little curious. Like, so do you have to pitch to Image to get like the story going, or like how does that end up working out? Since it's creator owned, I was sort of curious as to how that all worked out as far as the creators go.
You totally have to pitch. Like, I pitched Plastic and The Hard Place at the same time. Okay. To Eric Stevenson a couple of years ago at San Diego. Yeah. So it was in person. Yeah. Which is terrifying. No matter how many times you do it. Yeah. But I didn't know when you're pitching Plastic. Yeah. You don't know how people are going to react. Like Kevin Gardner, the guy that helps us out at 12 Gauge. Like when I pitched it to him, he was like, I don't think we need to do that. Yeah. And Daniel was like, no, you don't understand. We're doing it. Period. Yeah. Like whether people pay us or not, Daniel was so into the idea that we were going to do that book no matter what. So then we took it to Eric and we pitched it to Eric and showed him a couple of pages and he goes, so when can we schedule this? Nice. So it's just like one of those really cool, like you're terrified and he just comes back and goes, let's go ahead and do this.
So there's like you're coming up with a weird, crazy idea and he's like, oh yeah, no, I love it. Which is, as I've described this on the back, like the back discussion of it like where they go through and like, oh, by the way, she's made of plastic at the end. I've done that to a few people. And like I read that and I was like, oh no, we're 100% doing this. No way, like it's awesome. So I'm not familiar with The Hard Place. What's that about? Like,
so The Hard Place is totally different than Plastic. Okay. So I wrote that. Actually wrote that before I did Plastic. Okay. And it's more like John Wick meets Baby Driver. So it's about a wheelman that gets out of prison after a couple of years. Okay. And of course, he wants that life to be like gone. Right? Yeah. He doesn't want to be a part of that. Yeah. He goes to the bank, and these two idiots recognize him, and they don't have a clue what they're doing. Yeah. At gunpoint, he's driving for them whether they like it or not. Yeah. At that point, now he's got the police after him, the Russian mob's after him. So everybody wants to kill him except one friend. Yeah. So it's just him trying to redeem himself and get out of this horrible situation.
Very cool. Do you have any questions? No? You're good? He's also on the show, but apparently he's being quiet right now. Awesome. I don't want to take up all your time, but thank you so much.
What a genuinely good dude.
I know, right? Thank you, Maya.
Dude, yeah.
Thank you for giving me a segue.
Right on.
Right on. Fuck you.
Oh, we broke Brian.
I've been waiting all episode to do that.
It a lot to break me, but you got me good. Okay.
Got you fucker.
Drink, fucker.
Where are we going to? Shenanigans?
Okay. So for final grades.
Jamie, school is never a waste of time.
Since we have 15 minutes until recess, please put down your pencils and stare at the front of the room.
It's report card time. It's report card time. It's report card time. I'm so fucking thugged.
God, please, no! 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 No!
For our writer, Doug Wagner, what is your grade, Mr. Maya?
It's an A. There isn't really anything else I can say about this book. We've already said how fun it is, how funny, fucked up. It's kind of sweet at times.
Yeah, for sure.
In a weird way. By the way, the classification or genre of this book is labeled as crime and mystery, horror, and thriller.
Wow, it's got everything.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear Michael Jackson now.
It's fun for the whole family.
I'm going to check my other books. I have the other books here. I'm going to see if we can continue on your quest there. Cool.
Yeah.
A.
Hey, Mr. Todd.
Yeah, it's the Fonz here again.
Hey. Nice. Mr. Adam.
A as well. Like for everything we've already said, I love this book.
I'm also at an A. This is definitely going to be one on the top of our piles. This is a really, really fun book. The only downside of this book is it's not necessarily for everybody, but if you have a friend who has a warped sense of humor like the rest of us, it's a great fucking recommend.
Or you could also use this as a when you meet someone for the first time and you're trying to decide how off-colored of a joke can you give to really like gauge them by.
If they enjoyed this book,
it's like, here, read this, come back and talk to me. And if they never talk to you again, don't want to be friends with that fucker anyways.
Exactly.
And if they come back, it's like, I don't know what you gave me, but I loved it. And I'm like, we have found a cuirass together.
If you're debating which word is worse, the one that you can't even say is the worst one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Awesome. So for the art team, Hillard, Martin, and Dukeshire as their...
Dukeshire is a great name.
It is a really cool name, actually, I have to say.
Yes.
For that creative team, for the art, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'll go with an A. I mean, this was, again, it evoked memories of Lock and Key, which I think has some amazing art in it. I had to actually go look it up to see if it was the same person, which it wasn't. It's gross, over the top, bloody. I mean, there's a scene where he rips the guy's eyeball out with a spork. But it all works, and again, it's not like. So the problem I had with the third part of Cross was Psychopath, which a character actually looks a lot like Edwyn does. So kind of reminded me of that. Was just bloody, gross, and over the top for obscenity reasons. It wasn't offensive or anything, but it was like you're doing it because you can, not because it actually meshes with the story.
Right.
And as over the top and bloody as this was, it made sense what was going on. And it fit the mood and theme of what was happening. It wasn't like we're just going to go cut off someone's vagina and throw it around because we have a psychopath. Like, no, we're going to cut off their heads and put it in a bag. But that's what they did. That's what they did in Cross.
You should have gotten a fake head, and put it in a Ziploc bag, and gone up to Doug Wagner, and before he said anything, just tossed it at him.
He probably would have loved it.
He probably was like, yes, I love this.
Yeah, he would have dug the hell out of that. So, Mr. Todd.
It's an A as well. I mean, it fit perfectly. Messed up story. The art was fantastic. And every bit of it was great. So, yeah.
Cool. And Mr. Maya?
I'm at an A. This is, even though these are out of order, both books we've done today are A's all around for me.
Yeah. And I'm also going to give it an A. Speaking of the main character, Adam, I think the visually he reminds me of Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead. Even the shirt has a little bit of a Bruce Campbell, which I think is really great as well. So yeah, I love the hell out of this book. So I mean, this is going to be a pretty obvious one, but we're going to do the final round of overall grades for everybody. We will start with Mr. Todd.
Hey.
Awesome. Mr. Maya?
It's an A. There's no question.
Not a girl or a boy?
Nope.
It's an A.
Hey.
It's an A. I'm also at an A. Love the hell out of this book. And Mr. Adam?
Again, A as well. As much as I love the fact that it's a one-shot and you get everything wrapped up at the end and it's perfect end of the story, I just wish there was more.
Okay, yeah. And I hopefully we can convince Mr. Wagner to do some more for us.
Because now that he's a regular listener to our podcast, so.
Hopefully.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he does, by all means, give us a call. We'll give you ideas. Actually, we won't give you ideas because we'd ruin them, but
no,
we want more, sir.
Please.
Please, sir. May I have some more?
Please, sir. Have some more.
Some more plastic.
Yes. Awesome. So I think that'll do it for this week. So let's go into recommendations. I'm going to lead off. Mr. Wagner has done another book. I haven't read it yet, but it looks awesome, called The Hard Place.
Oh, it's about me.
It is. It's about...
It's about what's inside Virginia. It's from the point of... If it's from Edwyn's Dick's point of view.
Actually, I want a sequel, but it's from Virginia's point of view.
Yeah. I mean...
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And there's no words, it's just pictures.
It's just pictures.
Kind of like that one...
Hawkeye.
Yeah, the
With
Hawkeye
the
book with the dog, yeah. Yeah, no, Doug described this in his interview with us, so I won't necessarily try to explain it otherwise, but he was nice enough to give us a copy to read, which, I mean, I will totally be honest with and say, you know, yeah, I got a free comic book out of this. Awesome.
And for those of you wondering, it's labeled as crime/thriller.
Yes, but I'm really excited to read this book. Frankly, and also if you're in the Wasatch Valley, Doug's a local, so you know, support a local comic book artist. He lives in, according to his website at least, he lives in the Wasatch Valley. So he lives out here somewhere. So
everywhere from Santa Quinn to Brigham City.
Pretty much, could be anywhere. But I mean, I loved Plastic, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. We were only at FanX yesterday, so I haven't had enough time to read it yet. But that's going to be my recommendation. I'm going sight unseen and saying it's going to be pretty awesome, so check it out. Mr. Maya, do you have a recommendation?
I do. And so keeping in the theme of Plastic, if you like sex dolls...
do I? I recommend the 33...
As you listen to this, it'll be about 8 episodes in, but as we record... The season premiere of Always Sunny this week premiered this last week, and there is such a great sex doll gag throughout the whole episode, and I don't want to give anything else away because you just have to enjoy it. But just oh god, it's great.
Awesome.
Full of someone's cum.
Mr. Todd, do you have a recommendation?
So I'm late to the party, but I started watching Parks and Recreation recently.
Yep.
And Ron Swanson is my hero.
I can see that.
Is. I watched this
your spirit
man,
animal.
And he is he's absolutely my spirit animal. I'm like, if there's a place for me to achieve, it is, I am a Swansonite. I am becoming a Swansonite.
I like it.
It's good. But yeah, Parks and Recreation. But as advice I've heard from a wise sage, wise sage.
Old, yeah, by 11 days older than you.
Ha, you're old, you fucker.
Yeah.
Skip the first season.
Yeah.
Just start at the second season and go for it.
Yeah,
It's
first
great.
season's not great. Second season, it starts really great, get awesome, and just watch from there.
Yep.
So, Mr. Adam.
I think this week I'm good. So.
You think this week you're good? Okay.
Not going to blow your load early?
I already did.
Thank you.
See, now here's the weird thing. Is I don't know how much that I can leave in there because it's so convoluted, editing-wise, that's going to be really awkward.
At least we're not cinema queens.
At least we're not cinema queens.
Hey, that's why. Actually, I told Chris about that's our name we came up with, and he wants a shirt.
Yeah? Okay. It's our new slogan. At least we're not cinema queens. Okay, awesome. Well, that will do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening to us. So next week, we're going to finish up our month of horror comics for Halloween with traditional Archie book for Halloween. So we were going to be doing Jughead the Hunger.
I haven't read this yet. I'm wondering what Hot Dog is up to.
Well, I mean, because Hot Dog was the cause of the zombie apocalypse, too.
Right. Is this the same universe, or is it its own
each of their horror books is its own individual thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what's Hot Dog up to?
I don't know. We'll find out.
That's right.
Oh, hopefully we'll find out. I don't know. I haven't read
a hot
it.
meal, I bet.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he bites Jughead and turns Jughead into a vampire or a werewolf.
Hey, yeah.
So I don't know, but so that'll be the last of our Halloween October month. So we look forward to that. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you again to Mr. Wagner for taking some time with us at FanX.
That was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Doug. And thanks for listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
You guys do better when we're all in person. Just saying.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.